All right, everybody. Hello. Welcome to another Your Questions Answered interview series. Today, we're here with the big man himself, Santa Claus. Santa Claus, where are you right now? Where are you coming from?
Well, actually, right now I'm sitting in North Carolina. I have been visiting children for the last 10 days here. I have visited over 3,000 children in the last 10 days. So it's a busy season for me.
I'll tell you what, it's not even Christmas time, and we're already up in the thousands for the visits with children.
So,
Incredible. Well, we thank you here at English at the Ready Club for taking the time to talk to us. Let us hear what you have to say about what you do and the season.
my pleasure, my pleasure. The one thing I always do, and I apologize, I do have a little bit of a sinus infection. The winter in North Carolina is very different than the North Pole, so it's got me a little stuffy. But before we go, Jacob, I do want to check to make sure you
Oh,
are on the right list.
ooh, fingers crossed. Okay, all right.
Let's
I've been a
see.
really good boy this year.
Let me go to the J's, the J's, the J's, the
Oh,
J's, the J,
you
J,
guys cross your fingers for me too, because hopefully,
A. You're on the nice list,
oh,
Jacob. All
thank
right,
goodness.
we can do this.
All right, good, good, good. I say this would be the end of the interview quickly if I were on the naughty list. One,
It would be over.
I'd be embarrassed. Two, I might have to go cry in the bathroom or something. I don't know. All right, so the structure of our interview today, what you can expect will be letters from our learners. We've had lots of good questions from the learners at English at the Ready. The second part will be the spirit of Christmas, a more general section where we just discuss the spirit of the season. And
Okay.
third, the man behind the beard, maybe the most interesting section to some people watching. We all know Santa Claus from the stories, the movies, and the tales we've heard, but the man behind the beard. We'll get there. Stay tuned. All right, Mr. Claus, our first question, letters from our learners. Dear Santa, can you please tell us your story? Where are you from? Why and how did you start visiting people, especially children?
Oh, I tell you what a great question. There's been obviously a lot of legends about Santa Claus. There's been a lot of stories about Santa Claus, countless movies, stories. The reality is that in the fourth century, so we're going many, many, many years back in the fourth century, in a country called Myra, which is now known as modern day Turkey, a monk was there, and that monk, his name was Nicholas. He was the son of a wealthy man, and he dedicated his life to God and became a monk. And what he did, he took his inheritance and literally started helping poor people, predominantly children, because at that time it was not uncommon for young girls to be sold if they did not have a dowry. So they would be sold off as slaves. And he took as a mission to help those young ladies, those young girls, by giving them his money, his gold coins. And that's how it started. So, from that standpoint, children started looking for help from St. Nicholas, and history was made from that moment forth. So, this has been going on since the fourth century. The concept of Nicholas, who became St. Nicholas, and of course, as the world expanded, as it expanded, as the Middle Ages happened. The story of Saint Nicholas spread throughout Europe.
Mhm.
It was no longer just in Turkey, but it crossed all over the world. And so the legend was created. So it's truly based on a true experience
True experience.
of
That's a
one
real
man
person. So when
helping
people ask
people.
if Santa Claus is real, what's the answer to that question?
Very much so.
Very much so.
Very much so. The basis of Santa Claus is very much real. And we'll talk about that with some of your other questions. So be
Sounds
happy
good. We'll
to.
hold tight there, but thank you very much. That's an excellent response to get us started. And well, now we know Santa's real and he's been around since about the fourth century, is that the 400 or the 300s when you say fourth century? Help
So
us
that's the
English
300s.
learners
Yeah.
out. The three,
That's
okay.
the,
So when we
the
say the fourth century, what century are we in now?
Uh, who knows?
Who knows? Well, 21st century, I do believe. We always
So
go to
we
100
are in the
above
21st,
world.
but I tell you, this time of year, I lose all track of time.
I, I can't imagine how busy you are. We talk about being busy with classes. To be Santa Claus, there's nothing busier. All right,
So,
question two from our letters from our learners. Have you had Santa training, or how do you know what your duties are? How do you know what to do?
what a great question. First of all, the answer is kind of, sort of Santa training.
Hmm?
There are all kinds of seminars and training programs that you can go to as a Santa, but I truly believe that in my heart of hearts that you will know what to do if you love people, if you care about people, if your heart is to serve people. That makes you qualified to wear the red and white. Right there, it's that simple.
So would you say it's some sort of a sixth sense or a gut feeling?
I I think it's an innate
Innate.
desire to
Ah,
love people. I think that inside all human beings there is an innate goodness, and that goodness comes to the forefront. Certainly, as we get towards Christmas, when the Santa story becomes more current, more active, right? Then people, it's amazing to me when I travel, and I do. I travel a lot. As I said, I've traveled a lot. When I say I've seen 3,000 children, there's countless adults that I've interacted with just in the last 3 weeks right here in North Carolina. And when they see me, they smile, they light up. I'm
it's not
talking
just
from
children, it's adults too.
adults too. It brings out that inner child. There's no question about it. So when you care for that, now certainly you can learn how to present yourself, how to dress yourself. You can learn those things, but you cannot teach character. You cannot teach character.
So
And
it's innate.
character
It
is
comes
what
from the inside more than
it comes from
anything
the
else.
inside.
Inside.
Absolutely.
Ah, wow.
Absolutely.
So any of us could potentially be Santa Claus if we have it inside of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, I like that. I like the way that's
Absolutely. And
our
you can do it without the beard.
without the beard. What if I'm not, a big guy? Do I have to be a big person to be
No,
Santa
you do
Claus?
not. You do
No.
not.
I don't
You
grow
do not
facial
have
hair
to.
very well either.
No, no question about it that the beard and the curls help, and maybe a little portliness helps,
Uh,
but no.
But also getting that laugh too. That laugh is something special. The laugh really makes Santa Claus, don't you think?
Uh,
And
it
people
comes from a
watching, don't
point
you
of
think?
joy. It does, and it comes from a point of joy. No question about it.
It's that
So,
joyous, deep laugh. Where would you say you feel it? Somewhere in the
oh,
diaphragm? You feel it in the stomach?
somewhere in the diaphragm, I think so. So,
Incredible. Our third question. What do you do to gain weight in order to be a proper Santa? And how do you get rid of it afterwards? Again, we always think of the larger Santas.
so,
What's your tactic?
what? Let me look around and make sure Mrs. Claus is in the room because oh my
Don't get in
goodness.
trouble.
So don't we go? Oh my goodness. Right now it's as I travel the world, boys and girls leave out all kinds of carrots and vegetables and reindeer food, and Mrs. Claus suggests that I eat that instead of the cookies that they leave out. So for me, so.
So watch those cookie calories, we'd say.
So exactly. So yeah. And as far as how do you get rid of it afterwards, I'm not sure that I do.
Not sure. I know if the elves had an exercise regimen or something that they put you through or some sort of a
Oh,
training camp.
they try. God bless them. But unfortunately, I do love my cookies. I love my hot chocolate. So,
I mean, you get plenty of that too. You get the reindeer food and then you get the cookies and chocolate.
absolutely. So, absolutely.
Mm.
So,
Sounds horrible.
I tell people all the time, in order to make Mrs. Claus happy and me happy, just put out carrot cake.
Ah, now there you go. That's good. It's a nice mixture of a little bit of both, a little sweetness and a little bit of health. I like that. How are your eyes, by the way? If you eat carrots often, isn't that good for your
Good,
eyes?
good. The
Good.
eyes are
Ah,
good. The eyes are good. Even at my advanced age, no cataracts. I'm good. So
all
just
right.
I can
Say we
see in the
can't see
dark.
that well. The eyes are, you're small in a video screen, but Tell you what, good looking eyes there. Fourth question for you. I wanted to ask if you could bring some peace to the world this Christmas because there isn't much in it. Now, this is a heavy question. I understand.
Well, no question. That is a very, very heavy question. And sadly, unfortunately, Santa cannot bring peace to the world. I can't. What I can do is teach and share how to have peace. Then it's up to the individual to make that personal decision to participate or not. You see, if we imagine, right, everyone wants to be good around Christmas. And believe it or not, Christmas Day, for centuries, wars are suspended that day. Enemies will cross over a demilitarized zone to share with one another for that one day. So we know how to be peaceful.
Mhm.
The question becomes, do we choose to be peaceful or not?
Ooh,
So if we could live Christmas Day 365, it would be a wonderful world. It
that's
would
just
be a
more of just the
wonderful.
magic of Christmas, the power of Christmas.
Exactly.
Ooh.
But the reality is what I say is that it comes from the power from each individual within.
Mhm.
We make that choice on Christmas Day. Make that choice on December the 26th, all the way back around through December the 24th, and we would have a world with peace.
So, realistically, do you think that we can make that choice each and every day? Do you think, when you
I
think about
do.
conflict in general,
I do.
can we make
I,
it?
I truly believe that. I truly believe that.
I think that's a
When you
powerful.
look at what's happening around the world today, when you look at look at all of the politics, look at what's happening across the European, what's happening in the world. You look at what's happening with Israel, Russia, Ukraine. All those decisions are being made by some person somewhere. There's nothing organic about war. It's a decision.
This is from the mouth of Santa Claus, too. From the mouth
It's
of
a
Santa.
decision.
So,
So yeah.
what? Santa 2028? Why haven't you ran for president yet? Or something even more? I don't know.
Oh,
Is Santa
I
trying to
don't know
stay
that
out
I
of
could. I
politics as
don't know
much as
that I could
possible?
stand the scrutiny.
That's fair. One big
Because
day or a
I
month of
can
the
tell you
year.
right, I can tell you right now, the way the news is right now, on December 26th, they would report that I have broken into houses all across the world. I would be branded as a burglar. Not
It's those drones in New Jersey. They're watching out for you, aren't they? That's what's happening.
exactly.
You're watching current events. Oh,
Exactly.
great.
So yeah.
Our fifth question. This one, yes, this one is a little bit personal. Santa came to my apartment to bring me presents, but instead of this, he found a bottle of vermouth under my tree, drank it all up, fell asleep under the Christmas tree. Now, Santa, do you have anything to say for yourself, or
So,
is there something else going on here?
so what I truly believe, given that scenario, is that that was a straight up imposter. And when it comes to being imposters of Santa, there are basically three types of Santa imposters. There really are. There are three types.
Three types.
There's just the proverbial bad Santa imposter, bad character, bad look, bad image, and for nefarious reasons, they're impersonating Santa. So that's the first one. The second one I believe is that, which I believe is this one right here, no question about that. The second one is that I believe that there are some out there who just like to look like Santa. They love that look. I mean, there's not a hipster out there in the last 10 years that hadn't had a great beard. Right? And then I believe there's that third kind of imposter, and that's the one who wants to bring joy to the world. And they want to take and emulate what Santa is and emulate that. So those are your three kind of imposters. I am so sorry that a bad imposter fell in. Now, had it been that they drank all of your hot chocolate and fell asleep, now that might have been me.
Okay, so not this Santa is what we're hearing.
No,
It's not
not
this guy.
this.
This was
No.
also just to kind of highlight this student. They'll know who they are. They're from Odessa, Ukraine. So he's
Well,
saying
well,
he didn't
I'm
come into
just
your home. This wasn't the one.
that was not me. Absolutely not me.
Okay, you heard it here. And we'll leave that question in the past. This next section is about the spirit of Christmas. Well, before we get started with this, how would you describe the spirit of Christmas? What does that mean? We hear it often, we say it. What is the spirit of
You
Christmas?
know, that again, what a great question. I told you that just this past week and a half, I have visited over 3,000 children. The absolute essence of Christmas is when I walk into a facility. It could be a classroom, a store, it could be a shopping center. It could be literally on the street. When a child who has a heart of pureness and love sees me,
Mhm.
they run with full open abandonment, wrap their arms around my legs and hug me. That feeling of that child who comes and does that of their own volition, sharing that love that they have for me simply because I've walked in, is the true essence of Christmas. That is it right there.
It's just that unhindered response to seeing Santa
That
Claus and that joy that just pours out of
absolutely,
them.
absolutely. And I believe truly to get into a quick spiritual conversation, since you mentioned the spirit of Christmas, I believe that we were created for that purpose.
Hmm,
We were created to, with
right.
abandonment, to run to our Creator and wrap our arms around Him by
Mhm.
choosing to love Him. And we can share that with one another. And that is the spirit of Christmas.
So that
It's
spirit of
not,
Christmas is
it's not Santa
the
Claus.
joy of
It's not
Christmas,
presents. It is that sharing of love,
human connection, that human
human connection.
response.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Our first question from our students: what does the spirit of Santa mean to you? Why did you choose, just a tag on here, why did you choose red? Why not blue or some other color?
Uh, well, it's interesting, right? The spirit of Santa, and we talked about this a little bit ago about how Saint Nicholas, he was a monk, he became a saint, he dedicated his life to the helping of underprivileged and poor and people that he knew, and he just embodied that spirit of giving and caring. And as that has carried forth into all these centuries, that is truly the spirit of Santa, still to give, still to help, still to love. And so, that's they're so tied in so closely with the spirit of Christmas they're almost the same. So that's what Santa is. The color red, I would tell you that I look good in red, but that's not, it's not my best color. I think that the color red symbolizes so much of sacrifice that people have made. And that's really what the color is. It's about shed blood, and it's about the sacrifices that are made for people, for nations, for countries, for families, for one another. So that's why I
So
wear the
red's a
red.
color of sacrifice. It's the
Red's a
sacrifice
color
of
of
time
sacrifice.
or any other financial sacrifice, any sacrifice you
Absolutely.
make.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Without question. So
I am
I
not
wear the
sure I knew
red.
that. I am not
I
sure
wear
I knew previously that red, I know it's the color of Christmas, the color of celebration. I
it
lived in
is the
China
color.
for a while. It's a color for good luck, but
It is.
a color for sacrifice also.
But that's where it comes from because,
Hmm.
all joy stems out of someone somewhere making a sacrifice. All happiness stems from someone somewhere having made a sacrifice.
That's powerful. That color has a lot of meaning then.
It does.
Another question for you. What would be the consequences if you quit your mission overnight? If you said, you know what, this is too hard. I'm not feeling well. This sinus infection is keeping me down. I'm just going to quit this year. What would
Oh
be the
my gosh.
consequence?
I think the consequence that on Christmas morning, the world would be a darker place. There would be such disappointment across the world that it would be palatable. It would be palatable
Mhm.
because it does not matter if on Christmas morning, if you get a new train set, if you get a room full of new presents, or if all you get is a simple orange. The fact that you get, the fact that someone cared enough to give you because they loved you, they cared about you. If you receive none of that, that disappointment, the world over, all at one moment, all at one time would be palatable.
Hmm.
So that's what I think.
So it's not, to piggyback off that for a moment, you think it's not so much about the gift you get, it's about the intent of the person giving the gift and you knowing that someone cared enough.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Without question. Without question.
Because I know as a kid,
Without
I
question.
wanted the PlayStation. Well, when I was a kid, I guess I wanted a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, and the new Mario game. But when I think back on it, it's when I knew that someone thought about me enough to get these things for me. That's really what I remember now that I'm older. When I was a kid, sure, I was excited about
It,
the gift.
it was about the thing. It
Yeah,
was about the thing. But
but
only
now
with maturity, you realize the thing simply was a representation of someone's caring for you.
that's absolutely true. And I can definitely say, sitting here now, looking back on all the gifts I've gotten in Christmas past, it's
Yeah,
more about I remember the people, like my grandfather, who's no longer with us. I still have a
exactly.
couple of things he's given me a long time ago. It's not those things. It's the memory of him and that he loved me so much that he would give his time and his money to be able to give me nice things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oof, that's
That
a
is it. So yes, if I elected just to quit, it would be devastation.
If I was ever skeptical that you were the real Santa or not, you've won me over. By this point in the interview, I'm talking to the real deal. Question three for you. People trust you and tell you their stories or concerns. Do you have an example of a situation in your Santa life that gives you goosebumps?
Oh my, I don't know if goosebumps is the right word, but I certainly have been affected by many, many stories. Again, as I travel, as I have the opportunity to visit with families, I've been impacted by many, many small children asking me if I can save their mother or father's marriage, if I can bring back their grandparent that they love that has passed off, passed away. Several years ago, I was doing a very, very big event. And, when I do these big events, sometimes people will line up literally for 2 hours to spend just a few moments with me, to have a picture taken, to create a special Christmas memory. And I had a young woman who was about 17 years old with her mother come up. And I could tell looking at them, I could look at their countenance as they got closer in the line to me that there was something amiss. And they sat with me. And of course, I welcomed them with a jolly ho, ho, ho. And, ho, 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 ho. And of course, I always go back and check my book to make sure they're on the nice list. And so we were talking, and so I asked him, I said, what would you like for Christmas? And the mother began to well up with tears in her eyes. And she told me, she said, I would like to have one really good last Christmas picture with my daughter. I'm like, excuse me? She told me that she was terminal. She had less than 4 months to live. This was her last Christmas. And so they wanted it to have a special photo taken with the two of them because her entire life, her daughter's entire life, they'd had their picture taken with Santa.
Mhm.
And so the daughter started crying, mom started crying, Santa started
So
crying.
how are you doing by that point?
Oh,
I can only
just
imagine.
very, oh, it's incredible. And, there's a line waiting to sit with me. And, that line, most of them are laughing and joking. And like you said, right, it's little boys and girls who want a Nintendo Switch or want a new bike. And instead, I'm sitting here dealing with a family that is literally in their last 160 days, 120 days of togetherness. And I simply wrapped my arms around the both of them and bowed and prayed with them and brought them peace. And I promised that mom that we would sit there for 2 hours if that's what it took. But we would get the picture that she wanted. because that would be a lifetime for that daughter. So those kind of stories happen. I sit with special needs children all the time,
Mhm.
special needs adults. I have a 38-year-old young man that sees me almost every year because his special needs. And the first time that he came up to me, he didn't approach me, his mother did. The first time his mother approached me, she said, would you be okay if I brought him up here? Because, we have seen, again, other Santas who would not do that.
Mhm.
I'm like, of
Yeah.
course,
What
of
kind of
course.
Santa is
And,
that?
and,
One of those.
and remember, I told you, right? There's the bad side. That's the first one, right? And I told him, I said, if he can't step up on this dais to see me, I will come down to the floor for him.
Mm.
So those moments, that's an annual thing for me where I have moments like that. So yes, I see that all the time. I see things like that
And you have
all the
as a
time.
person, you've seen this young man a few times, I
Oh,
assume. You have a
absolutely,
connection with him and his family through that.
absolutely,
That's right.
absolutely. So yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
that gives me, we're asking about what gives you goosebumps. You're giving me goosebumps. And again,
So
goosebumps, we don't just get them because we're scared or nervous. We get them because we're
exactly.
seeing something,
Exactly.
right?
And it's about the shifting of a paradigm because every person has a story. I don't care how happy they are at the moment, there's a story. And as Santa, I get the opportunity to hear those real stories
Mhm.
very often. And it changes your paradigm about looking at someone. And that's what you just experienced right there. That's what gives you those goosebumps. It's a change in your paradigm.
That's a, I couldn't have explained that better myself. And I teach English and I talk about words all the time. Yeah, it's a paradigm shift. I
It
really
is. It's
like
a
the way you're
paradigm.
thinking there.
So, all right.
All right. Sharp tongue. Again, I know exactly who asked this question just by knowing
Oh,
the word
oh my
choice.
goodness.
Sharp tongue says you are a marketing invention of the Coca-Cola company. Is this myth true, Santa? Are
So,
you
so,
AI generated? No.
oh, unfortunately, I am not AI generated, but hence the nasal sound, right?
I guess that's
But
the
so
sinuses, and we know.
is the myth true? Let me say this, that the history of Santa, right? You have to look at the whole history of Santa again. We go back to the early or the late 300 ADs when Nicholas took his inheritance and started helping people. And then he was given sainthood, and that became Saint Nicholas. And so, as Saint Nicholas, the legend and story and goodness of Saint Nicholas spread across the world, other people began to emulate him in other countries. And when they did, as it spread across, right, then back pre during the Middle Ages, December the 6th was recognized as feast day and history, some world history here.
Okay.
And feast day was about the celebration of St. Nicholas. So, but during the Middle Ages, as England evolved, and we get into a whole conversation now about geopolitical and religious standards across the world, they stopped celebrating feast day.
Mhm.
But the concept of St. Nicholas continued. And so they brought that celebration over to December 25th, which is Christmas, to celebrate the birth of Christ. So they brought the St. Nicholas in and married it to that, which made sense. After all, St. Nicholas was dedicated to the concept of Christianity. So there was a natural tie in.
The
So
time.
that happened, right? So let's fast forward now. So St. Nicholas, when the Europeans, particularly the Dutch, as they began, because in the Dutch, in the Deutschland and in the Netherlands,
Mhm.
he's known as Sinterklaas.
Inter-
Sinterklaas. That is the name of Saint Nicholas. There is Sinterklaas. So when they came to the United States and began to settle in the United States, they brought Sinterklaas with them. Sinterklaas became Americanized as Santa Claus. So there's the natural progression of that name. So far, are you with me for world history?
I'm following. Yeah.
All right. Now let's get into just straight up American history because this is where the commercialization of Coca-Cola, how it evolved. Okay. So in 1823, there was a poem published. It was an anonymous poem. It was published in a Troy, New York newspaper, and
Mhm.
that was called A Visit from St. Nicholas. That later was claimed to have been written by a man named Clement Clark Moore, and the name was changed from A Visit from St. Nicholas to "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." So "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" is unquestionably the most famous Christmas poem ever written. And again, it was written in 1823. So it is literally 101 years old. So that was a written story, and he's the one who identified, Santa Claus as being bubbly and jolly and plump. Before that, Saint Nicholas was typically in canonical robes. He was more of a clerical look.
That image transition.
That image transition happened with that poem. So that happened in 1823. So then somewhere 40 years later in 1863, so right, it's a long time, there was a German-born American citizen who was an artist by the name of Thomas Nast. And Thomas Nast created what is known as some of the most famous, iconic, original drawings, illustrations
Mhm.
of Santa Claus. So there's that. So again, right? So we've had world history, the beginning of the truth of Santa, into Americanization of Santa Claus. So we have that through the poem of Clement Moore, and then 40 years later, Thomas Nast illustrations of that. And then, yes, this is where Coca-Cola comes in. So whoever wrote this, you're not far off, right? You're not far
It's
off.
not as outlandish as it first sounds. It sounds
It's
funny
not
at
as
first,
outlandish as it
but it's
sounds because
some.
Santa, it was not created by Coca-Cola.
Mhm.
Coca-Cola took in the 1930s, they took an artist by the name of Hayden Sundblom, and he was a marketing representative, and he created a marketing campaign capturing the Thomas Nast created illustrations of Santa based on the original "'Twas the Night," or a visit from St. Nicholas story, which evolved from the truth existence of St. Nicholas. So what Coca-Cola did was they commercialized that which was already in existence.
Authority in existence. And you
So
will see sometimes, you may know this too, you will see Thomas Nast Santa Claus
you
sometimes.
absolutely you will
That
see
that
that.
that
And
name, he's the one who conceptualized this version of Santa Claus,
the modern Santa. So
the modern Santa.
He put Santa, took away the fur. He put the red coat with the big brass buttons on it.
Mhm.
And so he did. Yes, that is the Sunbloom version because that's the Coca-Cola version of the Thomas Nast. So there's an evolution
No,
there.
that
So
evolution, there's a chain. You can follow this.
there's exactly. So did Coca-Cola invent Santa Claus? Absolutely not, without question. No. Did they capitalize and market? Yes, that
Absolutely.
they did.
That's what they're good at.
And so, for that reason alone, just between you and I, not to be shared around the entire world, I don't drink Coca Cola. So,
Sorry, Coca-Cola. Do you drink Pepsi?
oh my
A
goodness.
Pepsi Cola man? Oh, better
So,
answer that one. Better be careful. Oh, I'm thinking about just
I might
talking
sneak a
about
Diet
this
Coke.
and the evolution and the way people perceive Coca-Cola. And maybe there are some people around the world who think that Santa was created by Coca-Cola.
And many people do. Many people do think that. But I will say this, I do give Coca-Cola a lot of credit because that marketing program that they have done, they really have done a very nice job because they do capture a lot of the beauty, the Christmas spirit in their commercials. They do that. I give them credit.
Mhm.
No question about it. So,
Think about this.
but no, they did not create Santa Claus. They capitalized on the existence of Santa Claus.
Think about this. In our classes this week, we've talked about wildlife conservation. Some of the vocabulary has been about conservation. What's the animal that's famous now with Coca-Cola
Oh,
advertisements around Christmas
polar
time?
bear.
Polar bears. How are
Polar bears.
polar bears doing with global changes?
Well, it's interesting, right? Uh, with global changes, and there is a, believe it or not, there really is a biblical purpose and reason for global change, which that's another conversation I would love to have.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, the polar bear, they are dwindling worldwide,
Mhm.
but there's a conservation effort to keep them because they're an important part of that entire ecosystem there. And I appreciate them because you know what, we do have some at the North Pole that do give up their fur.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I hadn't thought about that. Polar bear.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah,
Yeah,
but
just thinking, forward thinking is, we talk about the imagery of Santa Claus. What happens if the polar bears become extinct? And we have these old Coca-Cola ads with polar bears. People might think Coca-Cola manufactured, created the polar bear. This isn't a real animal.
given time, that's what would happen.
That's it. Give it time.
Given time,
You
that's
know,
what would
for
happen.
Christmas, let's just save the polar bears. Let's
Absolutely,
keep them
say the.
around. All right. Fifth question here. How do you keep the magic alive for children who may stop believing?
Oh, wow. It's interesting. One of the things that I realize, and we touched on this a minute ago, right? No matter where I go, when people see me walk into a room, I have had bikers, thugs, gangsters that I have walked into a building. When they see Santa, they revert back to a moment in their lifetime. That belief is in them. It's there. It is. But we become so callous. We become so used to the hustle and the bustle that, again, it goes back to what I said earlier, right? If we could live Christmas 365, but it's in them. Oh, I'm telling you,
Innate.
I,
Again, just use
it's
that
in
word
them.
again. Innate.
I
As
I
some.
did an event. I recently did an event that I was in an exceptionally rough part of a city in North Carolina. That I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That the people that were coming up were not nice people,
Mhm.
literally, and they see me, they have to stop, take a picture, talk about Santa, talk about a memory they had. It's really amazing. It's amazing, and it doesn't help because when they approach me, invariably, so many men today, particularly from the rougher side, they have like a little short beard or something. So I always get on them about having a little starter kit.
A little starter
A
kit.
little starter kit makes them kind of chuckle. So, right,
It brings out
just
their
meet people.
ho
Yeah,
ho ho, yeah.
that's it. Exactly. That's what
Again, the innate joy. That's
it is.
interesting there.
So, but that's it, right? So, how do you keep the magic alive? It's simple. Extend it to them. Simply
Extend it to them and it
extend
draws
that
them out of
magic
it.
to them. That's all you have to do. Extend the magic to them. I promise it's there.
Hmm. I think that may just be something that we could think about as regular people. Think about, we're
Oh,
looking for the goodness in people. Sometimes if we extend the goodness to them, it draws that goodness
it
back out in
absolutely
kind,
does.
like
It,
like
It
attracts
absolutely
like in
does.
some cases.
There's an analogy we use that if you take a glass of dirty water and it's just muddy water, and
Hmm.
if you take pure clear water and begin to pour into it,
What
if
happens?
you pour enough clear water in, the dirt will flush out.
Hmm.
The problem is that we become impatient because sometimes what we're giving is only a trickle, and it take a trickle of good, clean, pure water takes a long, long time
Hmm.
to wash away dirt.
When there's an outpouring of it, that dirt goes away
Exactly.
very quickly.
So, yeah, interesting. Good
Oh,
question.
interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
good answer. Thank you. All right. Now we get to, I don't know, maybe the most exciting part for some people is the man behind the beard. Santa Claus, who are you really? No, I don't need to know all your secrets. Just a few small things. How long have you been Santa Claus and why did you start doing what you do?
Well, this is truly my 15th year of being Santa Claus. And my wife, Mrs. Claus,
Mm-hmm.
is the one who got me into it
Oh, sure enough.
because I'm sorry.
I said, sure enough, your wife got it. Wasn't just you or
Nope,
Rudolph. It was
nope,
your wife,
nope.
Mrs.
It
Claus.
was my wife. My wife got me into it
Mhm.
because my wife was on staff at a church, and
Mhm.
she had introduced the concept of Santa into the church. Now, years prior, and that sometimes causes a problem because I'll be quite honest with you. People who are devout believers of whatever,
Mhm.
they sometimes resist things, and so when you
Reaching out
stop
for
and look,
clarity.
exactly. So, but she had done that and had a man that did it. He was a really very photogenic Santa,
Mhm.
and he transferred away, and she wanted to continue that. So she looked at me and said, "You're doing it." And I said, "No, I'm not." And she said, "Yes, you are." And I said,
Doing it.
"No, I'm not." And she said, "Yes, you are." So I did.
Kind of like that
So,
movie, The Santa Claus, except for, Mrs. Claus found Santa, if you remember
it's
that film.
And so, that first year I did it, and did not have the full beard on myself. I put on the fake beard that was absolutely miserable, and it's evolved over the last 15 years now to this is my natural beard. These are my natural curls on the mustache, and she thinks I'm a little crazy because I have quite a wardrobe now for Santa, and we even own a 1906 sleigh that I have. So
It's a real
yes,
sleigh. This is a
yes,
legitimate Santa sleigh.
it's a legitimate Santa sleigh.
Wow.
It's
As
a
I say, I know
legitimate
what
Santa
you
sleigh.
mean when you talk about the fake beards. I wore this for a class not long ago,
So,
and this stuff at the
see,
end of class, I pulled a big long Santa beard hair right out of my mouth.
well, I can't lie with my beard. In the mornings, I wake up, it sometimes looks like this.
It's like, who needs face masks?
That's it. I just tuck it up like that, and it's like,
Oh. Our second question here is being Santa a job or a mission? What is your core motivation for doing this?
um,
Beyond Mrs. Claus, of course, beyond
well,
Mrs. Claus.
you know, with Mrs. Claus in the beginning, it literally was a job. It was she had a need. I could fill it. I did it. It was good.
Mhm.
I really think that it has become a mission. And I think if Mrs. Claus, who's by the way sitting over here, been watching me for the
I see
last
you looking
hour,
over your shoulder and he's
I
not
have to
taking
every
you
once
lots
in a
of places.
while. She, I think she would agree that it's a mission. Would you? She would absolutely. It's become a mission. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, I will do I will do 40 appearances, and that's a lot.
It's a lot.
And these appearances, I don't do any appearance for probably less than 3 or 4 hours.
Mhm.
So it's a lot.
It adds up.
And most of that is volunteer work
Mhm.
because I'm going into places and doing things with people, and because I believe that I truly believe, regardless of your age, every child deserves a special moment with Santa Claus, and quite frankly, it's my role to do that to the best of my ability.
So that's what motivates you. It's just
That's
giving everyone that you meet an opportunity to have that
that's
moment that takes them back to their childhood. It may
absolutely
not sit on your lap at some
nope,
points, but
nope.
they get to meet, see, and have a photograph with Santa.
Last year, I had a 98-year-old woman sit in my lap who had never seen Santa Claus.
Never. 98 years.
Never.
Never.
98. She died 4 months later.
Oh, wow.
And she was telling people for 4 months that she finally got to sit with Santa. And that's the
An
truth.
opportunity.
That's
Wow.
that's the truth. Yeah. That's the truth. Yeah.
I mean,
So,
and that's probably years that come after. That's your motivation.
oh,
You have those
abs-
moments. They are the
absolutely.
fuel that keeps on giving.
Absolutely. No question about it. No question about it. I
Incredible.
think it's a mission. Yeah.
Our third question, what is your best memory during your time playing the role of Santa? You've mentioned a few good things, but what is the number one standout moment as you've been Santa Claus?
Gosh, it's that's so hard because again, uh, I go into areas where English is not spoken sometimes,
Mhm.
right? And let me tell you, my command of languages, which is pretty sad, is not there. That's a gift I do not possess.
You have
So,
all those elves though that help you.
for exactly, I
Yeah,
have elves who do that. But when I can have oh, jingle bells, when I can have a 4 or 5 or 6 year old child who does not speak English, and I had a lot. I did this last night for 4 hours. When I have them see me, and when you can see their face light up, even though they don't speak English and I don't speak their
that
language,
universal language.
that universal language, and this happens when they run and they throw their arms around it. I'm telling you that there's not a more incredible moment. There's not, you know. And then when I get the opportunity with special needs, particularly the special needs adults and special needs children,
Mhm.
I mean, it's just amazing. I have a family that I see every year with triplets, and the girls now are they're 12. They're 12. I've seen them since they were 7. And the one is severe cerebral palsy, severe.
Mhm.
Her face, the way it lights up. And she has, has to get out of that chair to sit on my lap. Has to.
It does
And it's a
require a
struggle because
superpower.
now at 12, it takes her caregiver. She has a full-time caregiver. She's in a school. It takes her caregiver and me both to get her there. And we're not leaving till she's there. She won't let. So, those are some of the best memories, no question about it. No question about it. You know?
No,
So
yeah,
yeah.
those are fantastic memories. I mean, I just,
And if I'm honest too, my own family, my own grandchildren,
mhm.
with my own grandchildren. I mean, what do they know me as, Jacob?
I do. It's true. Santa Gandy.
Santa
Santa
Gandy,
Gandy. They
because
call
that
him Gandy, and he's Santa Gandy this time of year.
I
For the
I
whole
am Santa
season,
Gandy.
he's Santa
And
Gandy.
so
I
yeah,
call him Santa Gandy when I forget his name, and I say, "Be careful. He may not like that," but I
no,
think he's all right.
it's perfectly fine with me. It's perfectly fine. So yeah, those are my best memories are when that emotional barrier is broken.
It's that
And that
moment you can see it, can't you? You can
oh,
see when it happens, and
you can see it.
it's
You
broken,
can
and here it comes.
You can see it. You can see it.
That's so
And I
true.
don't care. I don't care if they're 4 years old or if they're 98. I
Mhm.
can see that when that barrier drops
And you can
and
see it beyond language barriers. It has nothing to
yeah,
do with whether
has
you
nothing to do with
communicate or
language.
not. You can communicate with that emotion, that sense of humanity.
Absolutely. I promise you
Hmm.
that. So I know that you have, if I understand in your class, you have many nationalities,
We do 30 plus
right?
nations represented.
And that's what I'm saying, right? Many
Yeah.
nations, many languages. I promise you, this translates no matter what language they speak. Oh, 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 oh,
And
oh,
listen to that. What does that
oh,
mean to you? It's yeah, it's that transcends language. That goes, and even when he does it, I feel again the goosebumps. I feel that
it, it,
paradigm shift. I
it,
feel it.
it travels the world. It travels the world. So yeah.
Let's take another one. We have two more to go, and then I can
Oh,
let you get back to your busy schedule here. Is being Santa Claus as romantic as we all think, or are there hard parts to it? Because we all think it's all glitters,
so
snowflakes, and red
oh,
fluff,
oh,
red and white fluff.
no, quite. Look, there's a lot of that. There is a tremendous amount of that, but there's a lot of hard work too.
Mhm.
There is a lot of hard work. Uh, for
More
an
than just beard
example,
care, too.
I'm sorry,
More than just
a
beard.
little beard care.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I don't do a lot. I don't. I just let it go. I don't do much. Um, but no, it's when you sit and you visit the way that I do, as I said, I'll do close to 40 events in a 4 week period.
Mhm.
And there are some days when I will start at 8:30 in the morning and quit at 10 at night.
Mhm.
And it is person after person after person. I do not take a break. I do not take lunch. I do not, I mean, I don't. I just,
Great proof.
because I'm committed to, if there are people there, I'm committed to that.
Mhm.
And it becomes draining. It becomes tiring. You do that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days in a row, and it becomes tiring. No question about it. You
Absolutely.
know, it becomes tiring. Uh, you have to make sure, right? If you're, remember I said there's three kinds, right, of Santas. There's the proverbial bad,
Mhm.
right? Well, if you're a good Santa, you have to make sure that your hygiene is right. You got to make sure that your presentation is right. You have to be on top of that. I mean, it's important to do those things.
Mhm.
It's important to do those things. So yeah. And you have to be up. You have to be emotionally up all the time.
Emotionally up. Hmm.
And and then you have to sometimes carry the weight of another person's emotions. That mother and daughter, that I carried that for weeks. I carried that for weeks.
That
And
has
I've
to be
carried other ones.
impossible.
That
Some of
that's
these
not the only
situations you
one.
see, you just
Oh,
to see that, like you said, with that mother and daughter, there was a line of other children asking for other
oh,
things and just waiting there to, hey, can you guys hurry up, please? We
yeah,
need to go shopping. We have more Christmas presents to
yeah,
buy, and you're having
exactly.
this really intense and intimate moment with this
Absolutely.
mother and daughter, but
But
you
then
have
I
to keep
carried
up.
that, but I carried that weight because, empathy is to be shared. Empathy is to be
Like that's
shared.
a take home there. We should underline that a
Yeah.
few times. Empathy
Yeah.
is to be shared. That's
Yeah. And so, so you carry that with you, you know. And it's interesting. I went back to that same venue just 2 weeks ago. And when I went back to that same venue, I saw them 2 or 3 years ago. When I sat back in that same seat, that flooded back over. So it happens. Yeah.
so
So that's the
there's
hard
a
part.
resurgence of the feelings from that previous encounter.
Absolutely. That interaction. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
No, that's yeah.
But I can't lie. It's pretty cool being Santa.
You heard it here. It's pretty cool being Santa.
It's pretty
And
cool.
I'm sure the grandkids
Bad pun
love the
intended.
Gandhi.
Bad pun intended.
And that Santa Gandhi, that Santa is Gandhi, that Gandhi is Santa, that my grandpa is Santa. That's got to be pretty cool to
Exactly.
say too.
All right.
All right, Mr. Santa, this is the last question, and this is our capstone. What message would you like to leave behind as Santa? You can think about this for our conversation today. What message would you like to leave? Or you can think about this as your role of Santa one day will end. What message would you like to leave behind for people as Santa Claus? Hard question.
As I leave this
You can take it either
session
way
with
as you
you,
leave this
I'll,
conversation
I'll, I'll
or as
answer
you
both
leave
because
your role.
I'll answer both because they're related.
Please do. Sure.
As I leave this session to all the students out there, first of all, I wish you the best of holidays. I truly do. I wish you a wonderful, joyous holiday season, no matter what it is. Personally, I like Merry Christmas, but there are other holidays. And so I wish you the happiest of that because, again, if you understand what the true meaning behind it is, do that. Okay. Live this 365. Live this 365.
Live this through.
That's my parting message to you. Live this 365. And as far as when the time comes, when I hang up the red hat, right? When
Well
I
said.
hang up the red hat,
Very well said.
when I hang up the red hat, I want people to look back and say, he spread joy. He spread joy.
That's it. He spread joy.
He spread joy.
It's
That's
from the
it. He spread joy. Joy is contagious.
heart. Joy
He
is
spread
contagious.
joy.
And again, we've said joy a few times in our conversation tonight and talking about the paradigm shift and just the feeling, the emotion. That
Oh,
emotion's joy, isn't it? It's
it
all joy.
is.
It's all
It's
about
all
joy.
joy. It is all joy. It is all joy. Oh
So,
yeah.
like the song, joy to the world, but
Joy.
joy
Absolutely.
to the world.
Absolutely.
I think
Joy
that
to the
right
world.
there is the perfect way to finish our conversation this evening. Joy to the
Perfect.
world, peace on earth, and goodwill toward men.
To all men. Thank you.
I love it. I'll tell you what, makes me want to put on my Santa hat and start getting my Santa
Oh,
training too.
yeah.
I got to put
Oh,
on
you
some
know what?
pounds. I need to
Oh,
grow. I don't know
you
what
know
I need to
what?
do, but I need to grow
I
some
spent a
hair. I also need
Jacob,
to start graying. It's not,
I spent a half hour in my closet looking for that hat today. I could not.
I think this is a dollar store hat. Well, Santa, thank you so much for joining me this evening. This has been wonderful. I've really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of just a really good things to listen to for our students. I know they're going to enjoy it. And again, they're of all ages, and it's just going, it brings joy to me to have sat here and had this conversation.
It has absolutely been my honor, my pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. And again, to all of you, all to your entire club.
Let me have you say one more thing as you go, but give us your best. Merry Christmas with a ho ho ho's. Give me all you've got on this one.
All I,
All you've got.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching my interview with Santa Claus for English at the Ready, and I'll see you next time in class. Bye bye, Santa. We'll see you. Well, I'll hear you maybe late night coming up soon. Bye bye, everyone.